Baldur's Gate 3's origin characters have a huge problem ahead of them. I've enjoyed their story so many times that their enemies are exhausted, and honestly, they look like they could use some time off too. Which is why I'm writing a new story with a fresh cast of origin characters that I'll bring to life using mods and storytelling. Each character has their own personality and backstory that will allow them to interact with the world of Faerun in completely new and unique ways. And thanks to the mighty D20, even I'm not 100% sure what they'll do next. So if you're ready for a new story, then take a seat by the fire and listen closely as a new cast of characters begin their adventure. After all, Baldur's Gate's heroes have done enough and deserve some time off. Oh my goodness, they're taking something off alright. Yeah, let's give them some privacy. Today's story is about the absolute worst party for a noble paladin. Hope you like it. This is the noble paladin Sir Gullivane, a paragon of virtue, courageous and true, authority made flesh, currently locked up in the Druid Grove's most spacious jail cell, charged with grand larceny after he was caught red-handed in possession of stolen merchandise. Sir Gullivane swears he's innocent of the charges. He has no idea how these stolen goods ended up in his bag, but that's exactly what he'd say if he were guilty, isn't it? Unfortunately for Sir Gullivane, his future has far worse in store for him, and his past hasn't been too kind either. It all started when a paladin and 3 rogues woke up on a beach. Stop me if you've heard this one before. They've all been infected with mind flayer parasites and would be as good as dead if not for a mysterious protector that's halting the seromorphosis process. Seromorphosis is a word which means to grow tentacles which continue living your life for you while you take a forever nap. Not an ideal outcome, and this unlikely party will need to work together to have any hope of finding a cure and reclaiming a future without squirming facial appendages. The party had no time for small talk as Sir Gullivane took charge of leading the way. There's no telling what dangers awaited them in the ruins of a crashed nautiloid ship, so the rogues followed the bold paladin's lead. But strangely, there weren't any threats to be found. In fact, the quiet and calm was downright eerie. What's more, there was smeared blood all over the floor, as if several corpses had been dragged away for some reason. The party tried to follow the river of blood, but eventually lost the trail. In a nearby structure, more blood trails were discovered, and following these blood trails, the party was horrified by what they found. Corpses. So many corpses, bled completely dry. But that wasn't the unsettling part. What disturbed them was the way the corpses were arranged. A smiley face. Surely there's evil at work here, and Sir Gullivane endeavored to discover the truth. But before he could investigate further, he found himself walking into the middle of a goblin ambush on a grove of druids. Sir Gullivane called upon the power of his oath and summoned his battle armaments. His perfectly fit gloves gripped a sword of devastating power. Warmth radiated off his chest piece, and his magical jewelry pulsated with power. With righteous fury, Sir Gullivane proved to his party members why he was the leader. Devastating smites, impossible speed, and impenetrable defense. Sir Gullivane is a walking fortress. After the battle, Sir Gullivane entered the Druid Grove and approached Zevlor and Eredin, who were in the midst of an argument. Sir Gullivane, of course, has seen much bloodier battles than this and tells them as much, but it does little to calm them. Perhaps it's for the best the lads get it out of their system. Sir Gullivane saw no reason to intervene. Oof, a lapse in judgment, perhaps. Sir Gullivane did not anticipate Zevlor's mighty left hook. In fact, Sir Gullivane often has difficulty reading people to divine their true intentions. With tempers running high, it may have even been too hasty to remove his armor. A volatile morning to be sure, but when things calmed down, he was able to learn that tensions are high on account of the goblin threat in the region. As a defender of peace and order, Sir Gullivane asked what he could do to help, and Zevlor informs him that the Archdruid of the Grove, Halsin, has been captured by the goblins. In his absence, Kaga now leads the grove and is threatening to throw the tieflings out where they'll surely be slaughtered by goblins. Halsin's safe return could change their fate, but first he'd need to buy some time by talking to Kaga. Kaga was in the middle of terrorizing a tiefling child when Sir Gullivane approached, and he inquired about the child's crime: theft of a holy idol, sacred to the druids. Sworn to his oath, Sir Gullivane announces that he alone should judge the child's transgression, and Kaga agrees. Kaga's argument is simple. The girl committed theft. She ought to be locked up. Arabella even admitted to it.
They said when the rite was over we'd have to leave. I took the idol. I thought maybe then we could stay.
The matter seems clear. The girl committed a crime, and while unfortunate, she must be detained. Upon hearing this, Arabella panicked and tried to run, but Kaga's snake chased her down and delivered a venomous bite that stopped the poor girl's heart in moments. Arabella is dead. Sir Gullivane confronted Kaga, calling her a tyrant.
Yes, you would say so. I know your kind. You see only villains and victims.
No. Sir Gullivane is blameless in this matter. He delivered the right judgment. It's not his fault the result was poor. He wanted to be furious and bring Kaga to justice, but he's a guest in this grove. Is he not subject to their laws and customs? Which rules apply? What's more important? Should he punish Kaga for murder, or was justice carried out in accordance with local laws and he's done all he could? In the end, Sir Gullivane simply left to inform the child's parents of her death. His judgment was for imprisonment, not death, and Kaga is solely to blame for the girl's demise. But as he walked away, he wondered. He'd done the right thing, hadn't he? He upheld his oath. Lost in thought, he didn't even notice when his oath-bound rings vanished from around his fingers. While Sir Gullivane had been parading around the camp in his shimmering armor, one of his party members was up to something a little different. Lilith Trinketvale is a halfling rogue, and she's always had sticky fingers. When she sees something nice, she can't help but snag it for herself. Lily isn't evil, but she's far from being a good girl. The thing is, though, she's never had a silver tongue. She's learned that her tongue's too dull to cut herself out of trouble, which is why she's developed other techniques. Sir Gullivane was oblivious to the world around him as he contemplated his actions, which turned out to be the perfect conditions for Lily to utilize her signature con, a nice little reverse pickpocket. She stashed the evidence of her crime in Sir Gullivane's pack and prepared to slip away when Sir Gullivane started to turn. So she clapped him on the back and said, "I sure wish I had your charisma. It's all anyone's been talking about." After a short chat that mostly focused on how impressive and strong Sir Gullivane was, Lily made her leave, confident she stashed her goods in the perfect spot. Her reasoning was that there's no chance anyone would suspect Sir Gullivane enough to search him in all of his glorious splendor. But she was wrong. The merchant discovered his pockets had been picked and demanded to search the Paladin. Of course, Sir Gullivane had nothing to hide, but lo and behold, the stolen goods were found tucked away in his pack. "This can't be," Sir Gullivane said. "There's trickery afoot. I would never steal from you and forsake my holy oath to law and order." But the merchant stood his ground. He'd caught the Paladin red-handed. Sir Gullivane can't raise a hand to strike down these innocents, and his Oath of the Crown demands he take responsibility for his actions. No matter how it happened, the goods were found in his pack, so he alone must accept the consequences. For the first time in his life, Sir Gullivane found himself locked behind bars. He'd of course voluntarily dismissed his magical weapons and armor, and he could rearm himself at a moment's notice, but not until he served his time. During visitor hours, a handsome rogue spoke to Sir Gullivane through the bars of his cell door. After all, the day had gone by so rapidly they hadn't a moment to get properly acquainted. He introduced himself as Captain Fancy Pants McStabbins. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm as serious as a heist gone wrong, a circumstance you're familiar with by the looks of it." Sir Gullivane insisted that he was innocent. He has no idea how those stolen goods ended up in his pack, but Captain Fancy Pants McStabbins waved the conversation away and changed the subject. "While you atone for your blatant villainy, perhaps I ought to lead the party in your absence. Just until your good name is purified, of course." Sir Gullivane reluctantly agreed, and filled Captain McStabbins in on the threat of the goblins. Fancy Pants is well suited for the leadership role, as he used to command a whole crew on the high seas. He might not fight with honor like a noble paladin, but he certainly knows how to get results. There's no word yet on how long Sir Gullivane will be locked up for, and he can't allow his detention to put lives at stake. So, Sir Gullivane, locked up tight, asked Fancy Pants McStabbins to gather information and discover the location of the goblin army. He also muttered angrily about how it must have been another of those thieving tieflings that framed him. It's not his fault the girl died. They ought not to take it out on him. Somebody needs to investigate the children to clear his good name. When suddenly he heard a voice to his left. "Perhaps I could investigate the tiefling children for you." "Great heavens, how long have you been there?" "This whole time. I've literally been standing here the entire conversation. Remember, I just offered to help you escape just a few minutes ago." Which was true. Just moments earlier, Todd Willard, the arcane trickster, had approached the cell from the side and offered to help Sir Gullivane escape, to which Sir Gullivane responded that his honor as a paladin wouldn't allow him such indecency, before monologuing for some time about the value of integrity and the sacred duty to uphold justice, even in the face of false captivity. They'd had this entire conversation, even exchanged names, and yet Sir Gullivane's next words were exactly what Todd Willard expected to hear. "Remind me, who are you again?" Todd winced. The same thing he always hears, and it stung just as much every time. For whatever reason, Todd Willard is perfectly forgettable. He never makes an impact, nobody ever remembers his name, and it's devastating. All he wants is to be a performer, one of the greats, but he can't find a way to get noticed and remembered. But Todd is determined to change that. If he can just find the right moment to put on the perfect show, they'll have to remember him. Todd responded to the Paladin's question. "The Weaver of Wonder, my name is Todd Willard. My spells leave mine shattered, my enchantments are killer. I stand on the precipice of glory and fame. I'll be etched into legend, so remember my name." That's TODDWYLLARD. Yes, of course. It's nice to meet you, Tad. It's Todd. Quite right. It's settled then. Captain Fancy Pants McStabbins will evaluate the goblins' defenses while Tom here investigates the tieflings. Lily stepped out of the shadows and said, "A fine plan, and I'll help Torb investigate the tieflings." After all, if there's other thieves in the area, Lily wants nothing more than to make contact with them. As the rogues set out, Fancy Pants pulled Lily aside for a moment and casually mentioned that he'd like to upgrade his swords. Lily shrugged and pointed him in the direction of a blacksmith. But Fancy Pants smiled slyly before saying she struck him as a skilled shopper that could pick just the right sword out and slip it into his pack to surprise him. Lily realized that her plant earlier today hadn't gone completely unnoticed, but the captain's words held no threat. They were merely an acknowledgement of her talents with a friendly request tacked on. Lily nodded at him with a smile before setting off with Todd. On the road, Fancy Pants was on alert in search of goblins, but he didn't anticipate the state he'd find them in. More corpses, arranged very intentionally, almost entirely goblins. It was hard to tell what shape the corpses formed from the ground, but looking from above it was clear. An arrow pointing down the trail. He examined the corpses for clues and noticed none of their weapons were drawn, and they were each pierced with a single arrow to the heart. Except one corpse, not a goblin, which somehow has fallen from a remarkable height. Whoever was claiming these kills must be a master of stealth archery with a flair for the sadistic. But they hadn't cleared out all the goblins, as a patrolling goblin noticed Captain Fancy Pants at the scene of the crime. Holy fuck, the critical hit. Nice job, Captain Fancy Pants McStabbins. This final kill almost seemed to complete the arrow. Whoever did this is not to be taken lightly. But as much as he hated it, his best bet was to simply follow the arrow and see what lay in store for him. Following the arrow, Captain Fancy Pants McStabbins discovered the gate and front line for the goblin threat in the area. Skilled at infiltration and intimidation, Captain McStabbins wouldn't be bossed around by a goblin. Ooh, nice job, Fancy Pants. You would have needed to run like hell if you'd missed that roll. And just like that, Captain Fancy Pants McStabbins has infiltrated the goblin camp. The welcoming committee might have left a bit to be desired, but the party the goblins were throwing was sure to make up for it. A delightful selection of meats to sate his appetite, and a bard you'd have to be positively wasted to appreciate.
Here follow, I cry far and wide for great glory.
The tables were a little on the short side, but it'll do. This surveillance job is turning out to be quite a challenge, and Fancy Pants wouldn't be surprised if he was hard at work until late into the night. Investigating the tiefling children turned out to be no easy task, as they are certainly a menace in this druid grove. They even pulled a fast one on Todd, swiping some of his gold as well as a bit of his dignity. He asked for his coin back, but was told to speak with Mole through a crack in the wall. Sadly, he couldn't fit. Lily could, though. A band of tieflings was just the sort of contact she'd love to have. People always underestimate children. Lily doesn't care much about Todd's gold or dignity, but a job to steal a shiny druidic idol? Yeah, that's got her attention. Still though, it wouldn't be wise to steal something that hot the same day she arrived. She accepted the job, but told Mole she'd have to hold off for now. The tiefling had one other job for her, somewhat urgent, as one of her own has been missing for a while. A tiefling child named Mirkon is late to his rendezvous, and Mole promised Lily a reward if she could find him and get him out of any trouble he's in. Lily returned to Todd and repackaged the deal as, hey, they'll give you your coin back if you can find and save this kid. Todd was thrilled to hear about an opportunity to save a child. He'd be a hero and people would have to remember him. He was ready to set off immediately, and he summoned the help of his lovely assistants so that he could be sure to find the boy in no time. Todd searched in and around the grove with the help of his invisible mage hand and familiar Quoth the Raven. Finally, Quoth caught a glimpse of the child. At first glance, the tiefling was just enjoying a nice dip in the water, but a first glance is never enough to fool an arcane trickster. Todd pulled out his bag of tricks and reached into it to produce an elixir of vigilance. There's more going on here than meets the eye, and Todd Willard would be ready for it. Then he approached the boy. It became all too clear what the problem was. He was being compelled into the water by a quartet of harpies. But a second-rate performance like this won't enchant Todd Willard, the Weaver of Wonder. Lily opened fire on one of the harpies, leaving the other 3 to Todd and his assistants. Todd pulled out his bag of tricks once more and reached into it. Ah, a 2. An enchantment whizzed out of his bag and hit him square in the chest. Todd Willard can now see in the dark. Fabulous. This is precisely why every main act needs a capable assistant. His mage hand was sure to put this performance back on track. Todd reached into his bag of tricks to produce a potion of speed, and he guzzled it down. After all, it would be a shame to not take advantage of this golden opportunity. Hey, that's more like it. A fireball zipped out of his bag of tricks, incinerating the harpies in an instant. Then Todd covered the area in a thick fog to perform one final trick. Watch closely as he makes their corpses disappear. The remaining harpy flew down to attack Todd, but a well-placed shot by Lily and some horrid camera work later, and the fight was already over. Lily came down from the cliffside after the battle and said, "I killed mine, but it looks like yours got away in the smoke. Better luck next time, turd." When they checked on the tiefling boy, he was very grateful, telling Lily that she's a hero and he can't believe she saved him all by herself.
Fatality.
If Lily wasn't an official member of the Thieflings before, she certainly is now. Thanks to Todd's extraordinary and completely unrecognized talent, Lily has been accepted as a full-fledged member of the Thieflings and shown the secret entrance to their hideout that any size can manage. Even better, she received a fabulous reward from Maul: the Lucky Thief's gloves and the vest of the Trickster. The new gloves were a perfect fit and will find themselves in many a bag and pocket. But Lily checked herself out in the mirror with the vest on and, ugh, it's not her vibe at all. She handed it over to Todd and said, "Hey, Top, you did your best out there and deserve something too. Take this." "It's Todd, but thank you, it really suits me." It's been a long day. Nearly falling to your death out of a nautiloid sure can take a lot out of you, and some rest and relaxation is exactly what this party needs. Sir Gullivane lay to rest in his cell, while the rest of the party regrouped at their campsite. Fancy Pants was pretty boozed up after partying with the goblins all day, and Lily asked how it looked over there. Fancy Pants beamed with pride while telling her how much coin he'd won from a little game of chicken wrangling. The goblin tried to short him, but a good look at his abs had her singing a different tune in no time. He proudly showed off the new boots he found buried in a chest while drunkenly looking for a place to piss. And he pulled out an assortment of alcohol he'd swiped on his way out. Lily commented on how that's quite a job well done and said he must have been a capable captain before the mind flayers picked him up. Captain Fancy Pants McStabbins froze, his face contorted to a pained scowl. Then he walked slowly off to bed, simply saying, "I don't talk about my time as a captain," before laying down for some well-earned rest. In the morning, Sir Gullivane was released from his cage. Apparently, some swords had been stolen from the blacksmith while he was locked up, so it seems likely he was framed for the theft after all. He was released under the expectation that he'd eliminate the goblin threat, and with his name now cleared, Sir Gullivane set off to accomplish just that, while Captain Fancy Pants McStabbins shared what he'd learned about the camp. When they arrived at the front gate, the captain took the lead and led them straight in, proving just how expertly and deeply he'd infiltrated this camp. The interior guards were another matter, though. Sir Gullivane refused to lie to gain entrance to the camp, nor would he utilize unclean illithid powers, and he certainly won't strike first against an unprepared opponent. He simply commanded them to stand aside, but his voice cracked and wavered. The air in that cell was lousy with spores and must have left his throat in bad shape. The goblins attacked, So Sir Gullivane summoned his holy armaments. Fancy Pants fought fiercely by his side, while the other two rogues kept their distance. Lily made a point to vanish after each shot to avoid getting targeted. And Captain Fancy Pants found that fighting by the Paladin's side had its perks, as the amulet he wore offered protection to Captain McStabbins against an arrow. In no time, the party had wiped out the goblins' rude welcoming committee, and Sir Gullivane rushed forward to continue the fight. Except none of the other goblins seemed to care that he was even there. He stepped forward and called out that he was Sir Gullivane, protector of the land and enforcer of justice. No reaction. This is quite problematic. Sir Gullivane can't simply strike them down, it would be dishonorable. He pondered this unexpected development, muttering to himself, I have a duty to end this threat, but I mustn't act without chivalry. There's a certain code I must follow, and by staying true to my oath, I'll surely be rewarded. While Sir Gullivane wrestled with indecision, Lily noticed her palms were itchy. She can sense valuables from 100 feet away, and sure enough, there was a fully stocked merchant around the corner. But there's no way to pickpocket the merchant, too many eyes are watching. What she needed was a distraction. Oh, Tad, I just heard the goblins, they're grumbling. That's how unfair it is that the party's outside and there's nobody to put on a show for them in here. Isn't that terrible? They're desperate for a show? Todd Willard, the Weaver of Wonder, will meet their needs. Todd pondered what would be the perfect trick for a goblin when suddenly he figured it out. Goblins are so small, I bet they'd love to know what it's like to be massive. Time to gather the crowd with the help of his wonderful assistant. As the cat did its best to lure over a crowd, Lily found her moment. She swooped 2 hand crossbows and a potion of invisibility out of the merchant's inventory. Then she stashed the goods on the muttering, indecisive paladin so she could just pick them up later. Todd began his show, casting enlarge on the goblins at random. The crowd was actually kinda starting to get into it, but all of a sudden the show was interrupted by cries of trickery. A merchant's pocket has been picked. Sir Gullivane couldn't believe it. First, a thief framed him at the Druid Grove, and now again at the Goblin camp? Have they no decency? Lily couldn't believe it either. At the Druid Grove, she genuinely thought he wouldn't get searched because he was so impressive, putting on quite a display. Here, she honestly thought it was a 50-50 he might get caught and he'd just have to suit up and slaughter them. After all, that's why they're here in the first place. But when Sir Gullivane was accused and the stolen goods found on his person, his fate was sealed. How could an Oath of the Crown Paladin respond with violence when caught with stolen contraband? Surely he could not, and as such had no choice but to abide by the local laws of the goblins and allow them to lock him up so he can await his trial. This is the second jail cell he's seen from the inside, and he couldn't help but notice it was a little more grim and a lot more secure than the cell at the Grove. There was one upside to this cell though. At least he has somebody to talk to.
Hey, would you be a sweetie and help me get out of here? Be easier if we work together, don't you reckon?
That's the end of part 1. A friend of mine is joining the campaign starting here, so I had to stop part 1 so that we can coordinate our schedules and find a time to continue the story. I hope you're enjoying it so far, and I'll see you in the next one.